Okay, we are officially launched. Let me get my view set properly here. Well, welcome everyone. This is Carrie Salmons in Columbus, Ohio, and we are so thrilled to be here all together for this very special evening of this whole series. This is called the MetaPower. The whole MetaPower series, we've called it a metabolic awakening. And that is truly what we've been experiencing, is an awakening and an understanding of learning all things metabolic health, and learning what more we can be doing, what we have in our own control and our own ability to be maximizing our metabolic health, right? So let me see if I can go back here. I want to make sure I'm getting the right screen view. So I'm going to read, if it's okay. Laura Jacobs recently spoke from the stage as one of our Terra talks at the doTERRA convention. And then I'm going to go off script and just share what I love about Laura. But if you've never had the chance to meet Laura in person, she's the mother of 5 and the grandmother of 6. And she resides with her husband, Jerry, in Utah. And they've been married for 35 years. And by the way, Gary just taught a intro to MetaPower class last night, and he specifically was reading Jerry's testimonial, and he got to speak really candidly about how he's like, Jerry's one of my friends, and I got to see him in person, and he really looks transformed. And I can say the same thing about you too. When we got to see you both in person in September, we could see physical transformation just in your face, in your countenance, in your body. And so you get to speak tonight with a lot of credibility. And Laura has decades of experience as a holistic health and life coach, a wellness advocate, educator, an international speaker, mentor, author, lifelong learner, and previous wellness center owner. She's a doTERRA founder and a US founder and a double blue diamond. And of course, she loves teaching about the intelligence behind the oils and the chemistry behind the oils. That's one of the things that why I've gravitated to you, Laura, because I think I love the fascinating chemistry behind the oils, like how and why the oils in these products are working for us. And so I remember back to, it was actually a East Coast conference that was many, many years ago. And you took the stage there. And I just remember feeling like I couldn't get enough of what you were teaching and sharing. And I have felt that way ever since then. And so thank you for saying yes to our team and for being here tonight. And so team, just everyone, so you know what to expect. We're going to give Laura the floor, and she's going to share some of her kind of what her special angle is that she feels very valuable for us to get from having this conversation about metabolism and the MetaPower products. And then we're also going to have a Q&A time together with her. So if you have some pressing questions that you think would be valuable for the larger group, feel free to drop those in the chat. And Laura Hicks is going to be helping manage a lot of the Q&A time that's going to be kind of the second half of this. And then, of course, we invite you all to stay on to the end because we have lots of great giveaways. So, Laura, I am passing the floor. The baton is yours.
Fantastic. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much for such a warm welcome. Thank you for asking me to be part of your call. I'm thrilled to be here. And, of course, to speak about something that I'm terrifically passionate about. I was, an early receiver of the concept. We, on our PD trip, we got to learn about, we got a sneak peek on this program, and I have been an avid student of discovering things about it ever since. I did take the time to listen to your first and second call because I didn't want to be redundant. And I feel like there's some amazing things that have been covered there. And so I would say for those kinds of topics and questions, go back and refer to that information. It was fantastic, and just a big rousing amen to all that was said and shared. And Nicole's a dear friend, and she did an amazing job of just being so personable and really on point about some details. And I loved your first call as well. I loved your testimonials, and did a great job of just, going across the landscape of the MetaPower system and bringing to life to it. So I'm excited to bring my angle, shall we say. I find that it's important that we recognize that everybody needs to be a product of the product first. That's really the first place we get to meet ourselves. And then once you have that in your heart and soul and it's become part of you and who you are, it's something you just can't help but share. And so I would like to nurture that part of you that really understands why the MetaPower system. I think we get entangled in, well, do I have to take all of them? And do I need all of them? And are they all necessary? And do I need to spend all this money and yada, yada. So I hope to solve some of those mysteries for you. And let me just lead out by saying, I've been in the health and wellness industry as a professional for nearly 30 years. I started into this as, I would say, a young mom, and had a couple kids under my belt and started to recognize there was some needs for some different approaches. And I appreciate the problems we faced back then because they drove us to looking for different types of solutions. And we've really never looked back. We've raised 5 kids in a very, very natural, home-based solutions environment. I actually started a movement, gosh, has it been 16 years now, that I called A Healer in Every Home. And the reason for that is I service my tens of thousands of clients. What I discovered is when one person started to become aware and awake and understand the value of not only the fact that natural solutions existed, but how one would acquire them in the home and have them at their fingertips and then actually use them and become a solutions provider in their home, that I watched households of my clientele radically change. And so I became very, very, very enthusiastic, shall we say, about the concept that if just one person can wake up in a home, it can change everybody's lives. And people then move from more of a surviving existence, which certainly is below our birthright, to moving into thriving. And when people are thriving, the most amazing things happen. They start to actualize. So that's really my dream for people, is that by learning how to think and solve for themselves, to be that healer in their home, that healer in their body, that healer in their life, and to actually feel competent and capable in that we can move out of a survival gutter-based life into thriving. And then we have the energy and the wherewithal to really move into living the full measure of our creation. So I'd like to approach our topic tonight from that spirit. And I have some slides I've prepared. These are excerpts, I guess you could say, or a bite size out of the class that I like to teach as I'm sharing MetaPower and the system and why. And I have my whole deck prepared, but of course my Zoom share, there we go. There we go. It's right there. So I'm going to start a little bit in maybe the middle of the story, because I think you're there. You've been talking about this already. You've been to an intro class. You've hopefully also listened to your first 2 calls, but I'd like to start somewhere. And Carrie and Gary broached this topic in your first call. I'd like to take you a little bit deeper here, because I find as we kind of bounce and skip across this topic of MetaPower, and then we hear metabolic health, and that, our metabolic age is inseparable from our biological age. I think we want to go a little bit deeper in our understanding and application of metabolic health. So I'd like to be really clear about defining that for us. Now, I noticed that Carrie and Gary used this image. This is actually a slide from my Terra Talks presentation. I was assigned the Advantage product, and my job was to unpack that thing. And I'm an epic fan of Advantage. I'm on my 3rd 30 days. I was in doTERRA's beta group. They had 30 of us that got to play it out. I was one of the oldest people in the group. I'm 59. And Jerry was as well. He's 7 months older than I am. So there's only one person in the group older than us. And so we were the oldies with all the wrinkles and the sagging stuff. And we were thrilled to be able to represent that segment of society who's, in a further age of life. And so I've got a lot of passion behind it, because, going into it, that was one thing I started to ask is, we're hearing metabolic health, but does anybody actually know what it is? And so I actually created this visual representation to show, do you understand that it's so much more than your metabolism? And yet metabolism is like the crux of everything, because as Nicole so graciously noted, right, is that metabolism is how you use the fuel you give your body, turn it into energy. And then from that process, you create waste. And without that, you pretty much don't run. But look at the expanse of different parts of your existence that are all touched or comprise metabolic health. And again, Gary and Carrie emphasized that these things are one or two or more of these. They're measurable. You can measure your weight, for example. You can measure how much hair falls out of your head. I love that Nicole mentioned that about her own experience. Your skin is visible, right? Is it sagging? Is it wrinkling? I know for me, around age 56, 3 years ago, I started to say to myself, gosh, I've been into health and wellness and I've been so dedicated to this life that I live. And yet what the freak is happening to my skin? It was becoming really visible to me and kind of terrifying, actually, I have to admit, and even depressing. What was depressing about it is I'm a solutions girl. Like, I'm like, hey, we can solve this. And I started to find that I wasn't solving this. It wasn't going away. It wasn't responding. And so it's one of the reasons why Advantage is my new best friend. So I just want you to know, and then it's detectable, the quality of your sleep is detectable. Your blood sugar is measurable and detectable. So it's just important for us to recognize. Now I'm going to simplify this for you and take you to what is interestingly enough. So when we look at that 6.8% statistic that we keep sharing, what it means is that 13 out of every 14 US adults, based on a study that ended in 2018. Okay, so the study went on for several years. It ended in 2018. It was 55,000 plus US adults from the age of 20 and older. Now, don't you think the 20-year-olds and such should have skewed the numbers? Well, if they help the numbers, then what we really have on our hands is something crazy tragic. Now, again, let me point this out to you. The study ended in 2018. Do you think anything's changed in the last 4 years? Do you think we're better than we were in 2018? And I would propose to you that we're worse. And in a lot of ways, epically worse. I went to a family reunion this summer in July, and I'm not going to say I showed up like the poster child of anything either, but I remember looking around with my husband's family, and I've gone to family reunions with these people every other year for 35 years of marriage. And they're a fairly athletic, like farm-based, farm town bunch of people. A lot of them were high school, college athletes. And I looked around and I thought, what has happened to all these people? They look old and fat. And it was kind of startling. And I mean that with the utmost kindness, but it was a really startling observation. And I thought, I think I'm seeing 20, 21, and 22 on these people. It's visible, it's detectable, and it's measurable. So if we summarize this, then we have the top 12 metabolic health stories of our time. So I want you to look at this and I want you to see yourself in it. Have you noticed in a measurable, detectable, or visible way that any of these areas seem to be, well, where you might fall into the 13 out of 14? And just to make that statistic clear, 13 out of 14 people are experiencing, up to 2018, less than optimal cardio metabolic health. And remember, they measured things like lipids or cholesterol levels. They measured blood sugar. They measured body fat. They measured cardio markers, important cardio markers. I'm sure they measured things like homocysteine and C-reactive protein, some of the most important detectors of heart disease. And they tracked these people for a long time. And 13 out of 14 of them failed. So here's a nice summary of what those look like. So my story, this is me at doTERRA's leadership in March, pre-MetaPower. And I'm always working on my weight. And I took that picture for my friends and I sent it to them. And it was a little bit startling to me, the wrinkled chest, the chin, the wrinkles on my face. And it was at this time, so that was March, and I went to a seminar. Some of you know Dr. Jessica Herzog. She is one of doTERRA's doctors on our medical advisory board. She lives here in town. We're great friends, and we actually work in doTERRA together. And she had invited me to a stem cell lecture. Now, ironically, I had been with Becca Nixon only weeks before, and we were discussing this whole metabolic health thing. And then I went to the stem cell lecture, and I walked out of there and I thought, I don't understand aging. I understand health, like it's who I am, but I don't understand aging. And I just woke up to this fact that I'm missing something here. And it's changed me. It's had me look at my life, my health, my quality of life. And, Jerry and I, we didn't start having children as babies. Our first baby was born when I was 27 and a half. Jerry was 28. So we didn't start parenting early. So our youngest just got married. She's 22, almost 23. And we're like looking at the body clock thinking, this grandparenting thing's going to go on for a while. Like, yeah, we have 6 and number 7's in the oven, but the babies are all coming out of the oldest 2 kids right now. We got 3 kids who haven't even produced any downline, right? And so it's like Jerry and I we better live well till like we're 100. So Jerry broke his ankle last summer in 2021, and it was a bad break, and it laid him up and laid him out, something fierce. And he came out of that and he said, if this is what old age is like, I can't have this as my life. So he hired a coach. Some of you know John Chase, who created, oh my gosh, I just lost it. Terra Fit. He created Terra Fit with Elise. He's on Elise's team. And so he lives in our area, and Jerry hired him as his personal coach. And he drives 5 days a week for nearly a half hour each way to go work out with John, and has done so since last December. That's how convinced he was that he couldn't end up like that, right? And so both of us had this epic awakening in the last year, like we've got to do something different. And so nothing could have come more on time for us than not only the awareness, but the answers that MetaPower has brought to us. So I would like to return to these top 12 things and ask you, why? Why is this our story? Like, really, is this our heritage? Is this our legacy? That this far into society and humanity and science and progression and innovation and cutting edge everything, this is where we are. This is what all that genius has produced as a society. We're at a minimum 13 out of 14 people are failing when it comes to cardiometabolic health. Something's wrong. So I want to ask you why. And I would propose to you, it's this. We've got a faulty approach. Flat out, our approach is faulty. And here's our approach. When you look at the world of modern medicine, they're all about intervening in symptoms. They're ignoring flat out the root causes, or better still, the root needs of the body. And this is how we've developed the top 12 metabolic health stories of our time. They are evidence of our epically broken approach. And the fact of the matter is there is only one pathway to health, one. And that is you must meet the root needs of the body, period. You must. And if they're not met, well, then you better meet the root cause and not focus on your symptoms, but focus on what the body needs. And that's living instead of with an intervention mindset here, it's living with an intentional mindset. And here you have to ensure, very simply, everything comes down to just 2 things. You have to ensure there's enough of the right things available to the body system. And you must ensure there's not too much of the wrong things. And notice how gentle I'm being. Have enough of the right stuff. Don't have too much of the wrong stuff. I'm not asking for perfection here. I'm asking for a reasonable terrain where it's okay if you want to eat birthday cake with your kids, right? Carrie, you brought that up on your first call. There's those moments. But if birthday cake is every day, it might start to get in the way of your body's root needs. So there's our pathway. So truly, the faulty approach is likely not deserving of our further investment. There is a better way. So I want to ask you right now, even in your MetaPower journey, how do you feel right now? And how do you want to feel? What do you want to feel? And this is what Jerry and I really started to ask ourselves is, we felt good. We're really health conscious people, but we didn't feel great. And we didn't feel like we were on the trajectory of living such that we would be vibrant for those grandchildren that are yet to come. My mother and father have both passed away. They had me when they were 30, not by choice, but because of fertility. They were older parents, and they're not around for a good portion of my kids' lives. We don't want that to be our legacy. We want to feel great. We love this concept of a health span that is as long as our lifespan. I'm all into what Dr. David Sinclair said. He's one of the world's top experts out of Harvard on longevity. And he says, die running. Just go and then just one day, like die in your sleep. And I'm like, I'm up for that, right? Like none of this like 8 to 15 years. I mean, we've seen these people whose quality of life just, excuse my language, sucks, right? For years of their life. And then, the table turns, and I've got a designer that works for me, and the amount of energy she has expended over the last years in caring for her parents, Erin's good friends with her, has been terrific. Even yesterday and today, the amount of energy she's pouring into her mother, because her mother's health span and lifespan are definitely not syncing up. So with that being said, let's take those 12 areas and I'm going to ask you to get personal. Whenever I speak with people, I'd really like to make this about you. I'd like you to walk away changed. I'd like to help you move forward in your life and to be, again, a more heightened solutions provider in your life because you know how to live more intentionally. So I'm going to ask you to rate yourself. So take a minute right now, look at my screen. I've given you those same 12 areas, and I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being poor, 5 being optimal. And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to ask you next because it'll make it easier for you to think. I'm going to ask you to pick your top 3 where you have the greatest need. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. So rate yourself in these areas. And some of them might be like, oh, I'm great there, and you can just skip over them. But where are you feeling less than optimal, right? We're looking at that 13 out of 14 part of self. Where do you feel less than optimal? I've got 5 faces I can see. And I'm watching each of you to tell me when you're not really reading anymore. You're all looking like you're still into it. So start to give me a feel with like, okay, I'm there, Laura. I've got my 3. I've got my top areas. Give me a thumbs up if you feel like you've come to that conclusion. Okay. I've got 4 out of 5 thumbs. Oh, I got 5 thumbs. Okay. So you're my sampling. I'm going to conclude that the rest of the audience is feeling the same. And out of those 12, you've come away with your top 3, and again, pay attention to my language, your top 3 metabolic health priorities. I want to I just can't even tell you. I feel like I got a get out of jail free card as a person who's been into health and wellness for 30 years, who's talked about oils since the beginning of doTERRA's time. I joined when there was like 1,000 members of doTERRA. I've been around the block a few times. It's so liberating to me that we've been able to capture this entire conversation into one conversation. And it couldn't be better than this. It's so good and so yummy. So now that you have your top 3, hold on to those for a minute. We're going to come back to them. Now I'm going to bring up a very familiar friend, and it is our doTERRA Wellness Lifestyle Pyramid. This is never to be abandoned because it's just simply truth. As a health and wellness expert who hangs out with a lot of health and wellness experts, including all your favorite people at doTERRA, I have a bat phone connection to Dr. O, Alex DeBell, Nicole, Dr. Hill, any of them. I can reach out to him, and I talk to Alex often. Anytime I get a really wild MetaPower question, he's my first go-to, and he answers me. And I'm here to tell you, we have tried, tested, and proved this doctrine. Do you realize we're really one of the largest epidemiological studies ever conducted on the planet? Think about it. There's millions of us doing stuff together. And so we have proven this. So I want to point out to you that the baseline of this is nutrition and digestion. And our pyramid did get a little bit of a new outfit. Dr. Hill in 2021 introduced a couple language changes to the pyramid. And as someone who was in the middle of helping the company give a reboot to the Live Guide, oh, don't think I didn't miss this. And I ran with it, and I proposed to the company that we relabel the pyramid permanently, and we have, and it's such a perfect change. And you have to know, I knew a long time ago we had a metabolic system coming. And so the minute I saw him put metabolism, and I knew it was a year later, right, that we got the product, but I knew ahead of time that metabolism was going to be something we were going to target. And I was just thrilled that we got to change our pyramid. So let me tell you why I'm so passionate about this, is because our discussion tonight, if we were to summarize it in one sentence, is I'm here to partner with you in how to optimize your metabolic health. Everything I'm talking to you about is under that one umbrella. How do we optimize our metabolic health? And I have something so wonderful to tell you. It's right here. It's always been here. It's not new. Now, the rules of the game of life and wellness and health have not changed. They are the same. We're just kind of giving them a new way of seeing them, a new perception. So the best way to maintain your metabolic health, to create it and maintain it, is to engage in a lifestyle that includes, I know this is going to surprise you, healthy eating, proper digestion, healthy movement, sleep, healthy metabolism, stress management, detoxification, a reduction of toxic exposure. Am I saying anything you haven't heard before? And of course, from time to time, you're going to need that informed self-care where you may have a little fire to put out or a little specialty area where you need some extra help. And that pink area is actually why most people come to doTERRA. And the sad thing is most people, if that's all they ever learn about doTERRA, is it's there for a little fire extinguisher to put out your little symptom fires. Do you see how we're right back to the intervention pyramid? It's still a faulty approach. And if you don't live by this and you don't teach this, you have missed out on 90% of what's cool about doTERRA. So don't rob yourself and stay up in like just a natural symptom management world. It's not wellness. Look at the lines. The arrow, lifestyle, is the first 4 levels. Healthcare are the top 2. And doTERRA was so brilliant. You know, big shout out to Rob Young. And I know you guys, Nicole was so great to shout out to our executives who brought this doctrine to us from the beginning. This is Rob Young's genius. Dr. Hill, my team has been practicing daily habits and healthy habits literally since like 2009. Like Dr. Hill taught us that, you know, I sat at his feet when there was just a few thousand of us. And that truth has never left us. When you open that Live Guide and you see the pyramid and the products that go with it, nothing's changed. I just want you to know that what you have in your hot hands is a perfect recipe for metabolic health. So this approach helps us prioritize. And I want you to hear me like your life depends on what I'm about to say. Everything that we've just talked about was a setup for right now. And I'm going to leave you with 3 concise steps and thoughts that will simplify for the rest of your doTERRA life everything you have to play with when it comes to our product offerings. So number 1, we first must prioritize the bioavailability, absorption, and utilization of core micronutrients and the gut health to work with it. Number 1, we must first prioritize the bioavailability, absorption, and utilization of core micronutrients and the gut health to manage it. Number 2, we've got to promote metabolism of macronutrients, or in other words, another way to say that is we must properly promote the utilization of macronutrients. Micro, macro. Where did I say macro? Second. Because if you don't have the gut that can handle the macronutrients, well, good luck with those macronutrients, right? And then number 3, and right there at level 2, this macronutrient utilization, I would propose to you, it's so off kilter. It's why 13 out of 14 people don't have optimal cardiometabolic health. It's broken beyond measure. It's epidemic in our country and in the West. Okay, lastly, the pyramid as our guide, everyone is encouraged through the pyramidal display here to meet your body's own individual needs when it comes to movement, when it comes to sleep, when it comes to stress management, when it comes to detoxification. And I'm just reading the pyramid to you, right? Everybody's encouraged as the third part of this to personalize your way of supporting yourself through movement, rest, stress management, detoxification, and management of toxins. And lastly, your targeted priorities. That's the pink level. What are your personal targeted priorities where you'll want to focus? Now you're starting to understand why I had you take the quiz, right? That's going to come to life here in a minute. Okay, well, so with that being said, I'm about to repeat what I said and put some bones to it, or some meat on them bones, however you want to look at it. So here we go. How can we take control of our metabolic health? Well, again, the pyramid. This is it. This is the recipe. Number 1, we must have available to us and build a critical foundation of micronutrients and gut health to sustain daily metabolic health. If your goal is metabolic health and your goal is optimal metabolism, you must support the body by supplying micronutrients and then support the body's utilization of those. Again, I'm just repeating myself. So I've got really good news for you. Have you ever heard of lifelong vitality? It is a box of micronutrients. Isn't that amazing? Dun, da, da, da. Have you ever heard of TerraZyme? It is all about putting into free form your micronutrients so they are what? Bioavailable, more easily absorbed, and better utilized. That is TerraZyme's job. That is what you're hiring it to do. And then PB Assist, you ever heard of your microbiome? You ever heard of it maybe being less than optimized? It's radically important that we have a healthy pre and probiotic population to help us maintain a healthy microbiome, because if we slide all that yummy stuff into a gut that's less than optimal, it's not going to be available to partner with us on utilization. So one, we offer the gut micronutrients that are in an optimal state to be absorbed and utilized. But two, we also support a gut that's able to receive that and handle it well. That's step one. Step two, now we're targeting specific metabolic support, the body's ability to optimize metabolism and utilization of its macronutrients. Now, I could unpack these products for you a lot of ways. I couldn't say more amens to what you've already heard from Carrie, Gary, the testimonials, and Nicole. There ain't nothing wrong, broken, or off kilter in any way, shape, or form about anything you've already heard. I'm just going to add to your already understanding kind of a fun way to see these three products. Now, it might be an oversimplification. I'm going to be unapologetic about it, but I think it's a fun way to see it. Does anybody know what the three major categories of macronutrients are? Do you know what they are? What are your macronutrients?
Is it protein, carbs, and fats?
Ding, 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 ding. Good job. All right. So I'm so excited because this, to me, this program, again, health and wellness expert, seen tens of thousands of clients, helped people solve more problems than I can count. And it was always true for me that a couple little things were missing for us. Number one, we've never had an amino acid supplement in doTERRA. We've been missing protein supplementation in our offerings. Okay. So to have the Advantage product that is loaded with amino acids. So if you heard my Terra talk, very simply put, when you take collagen in, it's this big glob of raw goods. And so collagen peptides is just raw material, and your body has to hydrolyze it, digest it, break it down, and turn it into something. And your body will do that in its priority. It will decide how you're going to route that. And so you thought you were doing your skin, your body's going to say tough tooties, I'm doing energy and enzymes, you're not getting any skin help. So you're not in charge. But when you go in with protease, which is an enzyme, and it's actually in TerraZyme, it's a protein enzyme, and you start clipping, like with a pair of scissors, those collagen peptides, and you turn them into tripeptides. You've made smaller molecules out of it. And now these tripeptides do certain jobs, and they can't help themselves, but do certain jobs. So what that means is your chances of getting the same high quality results in your order of ability to receive it will be very consistent. Now, do you want to know a little secret? There's more than 9 tripeptides in here. Those are just the ones that doTERRA has identified and is allowed to speak to. But the source of this protein, it's not like doTERRA said to it, all right, all you tripeptides that we don't have on our label, just scoot on over and get out of our sachet. Not going to happen. So this is more robust than we even know it to be. Now, that's not a claim. That's just common sense. Okay. And I've talked to 2 doctors about it, one inside of doTERRA, one outside, and both absolutely confirmed that yes, of course. Yes, of course. So we now have a box of protein, but it's not just a box of protein. It's not chicken. It's not beef. It's fish, but it's fish that's been clipped into tripeptides that's so specialized. It's like nothing you've ever used in your life. Like there's no collagen product out there like ours. And then they just didn't stop there. They absolutely put it on steroids with NMN and resveratrol and a whole bunch of other really, really cool ingredients that are designed to work with you and your longevity genes from the inside out. That's a macronutrient box right there. Tons of amazing proteins for you to work with. The MetaPower Assist It's helping you manage carbohydrates. We don't sell carbohydrates in doTERRA. Okay, we have a little bit in our greens and a little bit in our fiber, but we're not providing you with your carbs, right? You don't need help with that. Most people have more than enough carbohydrates in their diet. But what you do need help with is managing them. And the bottom line is the assist, because of its inhibitory capacity, simply takes your fast carbs and turns them into slow carbs. It helps you mitigate the impact of carbohydrates in your body. It's like taking a pair of scissors and clipping off your glucose spikes. And in the words of Dr. O, when your glucose spikes, you age. Do you think Jerry and I are listening here? Let me say it again. When your glucose spikes, you age. So if you are interested in a health span that is long as your lifespan, I was saying to my 27-year-old daughter today, do you realize you never have to have wrinkles like your mother? Do you realize you never have to go through some of the aging things that I've gone through, because you are going to get a head start like 3 decades ahead of me? Do you have any idea? I had her when I was 32, right? Like, do you have any idea what you have in your hot hand? And she looked at me somewhat perplexed. And I think she was like, I think I'm hearing you right, Mom. And I could see her kind of process that. Like, she'd never really thought about it in that context, but I'm thinking about it. And I'm thinking, I got 4 daughters. I'm like, what gift do I have to give to them? Because I already see the sun damage on their face. 2 of them played college soccer. They played college since they were 4. And I see the sun damage on their skin. And I think, oh my gosh, they don't have to age. So there's the advantage product for that. But controlling those blood sugar spikes is every bit as critical. So there's your carb product. Okay, so we're in our macronutrients. We've got protein. It's one category. Thank you, Carrie. Number 2 is carbs. Now we're managing them with excellence. I'm trying to be short. I'm not great at being short because I love a deep conversation, right? I have relator high in my strengths. Like, let's go deep, shall we? Can I just take a commercial break and say, with almost tears pouring out of my eyeballs, that assist has healed my relationship with carbohydrates. Y'all know what it's like, right? If you're like me and you're menopausal and you're like, can't lose weight anymore. What just happened? What is this? And you try really hard and you work out, and your first speaker on your first call, she spoke of that story. It's really kind of depressing. And then suddenly you look at every food, everywhere you go, every meal, and you're like, am I going to sin or am I going to abstain? And your whole life becomes sin or abstain, sin or abstain, sin or abstain. And you look at every meal and you measure it by the impact of the carbohydrates that you might eat. And you look at that sourdough bread that your daughter-in-law makes with excellence, and you decide, I'm going to eat her love today and I'm going to wear it tomorrow. And it's going to take 2 days for me to get it off, which means I'm just working backwards. But today I'm going to eat her love in her sourdough bread. And every day was like that. And you know what? It kind of sucked. And it was like that for a long time. I've been, through the change now for 12 years. That's a long time to have this relationship with carbohydrates. And it was getting really old. And I was so tired of going to bed, feeling like a hard carbohydrate sinner who had to repent and wake up in the morning and hope for a better day. I felt like a drug addict, for heaven's sakes, right? Is this what drug addicts go through? Like the guilt, the shame, and tomorrow's going to be a better day. Like, it got super old. But I have had the most outstanding relationship with Assist. One, I didn't get it in my first 30 days. I really didn't get it. I didn't take it like committedly. I just thought, oh, I forgot it. Oh, well. Second 30 days, I went to Hawaii. Daughter got married. And I just decided to eat fun. Like, I'm on vacation, I'm going to eat fun, but I didn't miss my Assist. I did take it with every carbohydrate meal. And so often I would forget. So I would take it kind of like during the meal or right afterwards. And I found it worked. I didn't gain a pound in Hawaii. I was like, what is happening here? And I'd already lost some weight through my first efforts. And I was like, oh my gosh, I came back from a vacation. I haven't gained any weight. Fell off my wagon, missed my Assist for about a week and started to put weight on. And I'm like, whoa, something's wrong. Went right back on it, went right back down to my new set point, and have rebirthed my relationship with carbohydrates, for which I am so grateful. Next grouping is our metabolic blend. Again, can't thank Nicole enough for how she's unpacked this for you. And you see how significant she personally has been in doTERRA's progression of this blend all these years. I mean, I've known of Nicole Stevens long before she even worked for doTERRA. She came out of University of Utah and did a lot of contract work for doTERRA. She is brilliant. She's one of the smartest essential oil people on the planet. We're so blessed to have her, and the refinement of this product. So what's our third macronutrient category? Fat. Because we're going to talk about fat in 2 ways. One, simply your capacity to break it down. And again, what's our keyword here? utilize it well. So you've got your lemon and your grapefruit oils in the blend that we already know are fantastic, along with peppermint, ginger, and cinnamon. They're fantastic at helping us with simply fat utilization and breaking it down properly. But oh my gosh, what if you could inhibit the maturation of a fat cell? Like, can you wrap your head around that claim? Inhibit the maturation of a fat cell. So we're talking about fat from 3 sides of the story. Number 1, fat utilization. Number 2, inhibition of fat cell maturation. And number 3, your metabolic blend is key. Do not leave it out. It is not in third place here. It is key and king for helping you maintain healthy blood sugar levels and insulin sensitivity. If you don't do that, do you know what happens? Insulin is yes, indeed, here comes that word one more time, a fat storage hormone. So your blend is helping you with your relationship in 3 ways. 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 ways. It is helping you have a better relationship with fat, not only the fat you eat, but the fat that you possibly could store on your body and how you store it. Now, fat cells have a long life. There is a mystery out there that they live forever. The truth of it is, like, what cell in your body lives forever? Come on, that's not even scientifically sound to believe that. But they do have a long life. And I've heard experts say different things, so I'll just go with the range they've said, 3 to 7 years. Okay, so Laura, right here, she's in her third 30 days of MetaPower and on the blend. I'm going to be patient. Do you realize that my fat cell population is turning over 1 fat cell at a time? Where am I going to be 6 months from now? Where am I going to be a year from now when I've taken control of my fat cell population? And as those old ones die off, I've created a new school for the new ones that says, oh, we don't mature in this house. We don't do that. We've changed our mind. That's not a thing anymore. And I've just been so amazed to see, you know, those lumps you have on your thighs, you know what I'm talking about, girls, they're just a little unsightly in the leggings. They're like smoothing out. Like, I'm looking at my body like, wow, what's happening here? And not only have we changed our relationship with carbohydrates, but we're changing a relationship with how fat is stored on the body. Laura's preaching it, right? Last step, number 3, is what I've already invited. And I gave it to you 3 times. I said I was going to repeat myself. And I said, lastly, it's about each person meeting their individual needs. This is why I had you take the quiz. Where are your individual needs? Where was your greatest need? Was it with sleep? Well, guess what? We have this amazing product line called Serenity. And so while sleep is up for you and it deserves some extra attention above and beyond micro and macronutrients, let's put some chemistry in that helps you target sleep, which is your priority. Perhaps it's your structural system. Perhaps it's joints. Let me introduce you to my best friend. It's called Deep Blue Polyphenol Complex and Deep Blue Stick. I live with them every day. They've changed my life, right? Or perhaps you wrote on your list something along the lines of your digestive system. Well, we've already covered that, but we do have 2 enhancing products that if I could have a perfect world, I would tell you, I want everybody on our fiber and our greens as well. Like, bring it all for the gut, right? And so on and so forth. What if it's energy? Have you ever heard of Mito2 Max? Let me introduce you. And so on. Do you need detoxification? Can I introduce you to our doTERRA Cleanse and Restore program? Is it your gut? Do we need to target with GX Assist? Is it systemic? Do we need to go after it with DDR? You get the point. And so the bottom line is, within those 12 categories, as wellness advocates, we know our products. And if you brought up any one of them, if I said brain and cognition, what would you say? If that was one of your 12 and it was one of mine, I was starting to find myself less capable of spelling words. I was starting to forget how to spell words. It was rather unnerving. And along with that, my sense of smell, I know as a doTERRA wellness advocate, this is terrible, but my sense of smell was highly diminished, which is actually a sign of brain aging. And so I was like noticing, right? So of course, that was an area that I was leaning into. And of course, the advantage with one of the tripeptides specifically targeting brain aging, guess what's happening to me? My sense of smell is coming back. A couple times this week, I'm like, I'm smelling something terrible. I'm like, wait, I'm smelling something terrible. This is exciting that I can actually smell it. And it happened multiple times. I mean, it's so fun to be in my third 30 days and be like, oh, new chapter, new layer, new wins, new results, loving it. So I can't say enough that please don't leave this part out. Just today, I was on the phone with one of the most special doTERRA employees. You probably don't know who she is. She's like behind the wings of some of the best people in doTERRA. She's been behind the wings of Emily. She's been behind the wings of Dr. Hill, and she's now behind the wings of Dr. Riggs. Wonderful person. And she has been having her own situation, shall we say, with one of the new products. And Dr. Riggs has been helping her unpack that. And so our conversation was, I said to her, I hear a need for detoxification. You need some, if your body is having this reaction, and she was having a response out her skin, if upping your cellular energy is causing an evacuation through your skin, then we need to look at your detoxification channels. And we also need to look at your unwanted guest population in your body. And so that's how we customize. So I cannot say enough about level 1, level 2, and level 3. Every single one of them, or steps, I call them steps, step 1, step 2, step 3, are as important as the other, but they need to be stacked in the way that I gave them to you for the reasons I've mentioned. Carrie, that's everything I've prepared for our conversation tonight. So take it back, Q&A, wherever you want to go with this.
I mean, my notes have been flowing. It's been so good. And I don't know if you've even had a chance to glance at the chat while you were speking. I'm sure you didn't, because I know how it is.
I can't talk and read at the same time.
You're going to have fun. I'm just going to tell you this right now, that once this class is all over, I'm going to send you a copy of the transcript of the chat.
Oh, thank you.
Because I think it'll bless you so much to see the comments and the feedback and the inspiration that you're bringing. So we do have time for some Q&A. And so Laura Hicks, I'm going to pass the baton over to you to help maybe just identify the most important questions that we want to do in our limited time before we have our giveaways.
Sounds good. So you actually answered many of the questions that I have on my very long list. So props to you.
Good.
This was amazing. You did awesome. I love hearing you speak. You're so knowledgeable. So a couple questions just to kind of give more specifics. When we're talking about healing the body, like I know that some people are losing weight very quickly without effort, and other people are not losing weight, right? Releasing weight, kind of that mindset of your body's healing. So I know that this, like you said, you're on month 3, and how much further along will we be in 6 months, right? So if we go into this with a mindset of all of us are starting out at different start points, it's a healing journey. So some people may be further along in that healing journey to release the weight. What are some things, as far as if weight is your number one goal, kind of honing in on, and I guess identifying, okay, where am I going with this? I have like 4 different questions.
I got you.
Just honing in on where is your starting point.
Number one, in the words of Alex DeBell, this is not a weight loss program. So let's mitigate our expectations. Now, does that mean how many people are you hearing that are having weight positive experiences, right? So number one, this is not a weight management program. Thank God. This is a metabolic health program that absolutely is addressing metabolism on steroids. You are on a metabolism journey, and your weight is a reflection of your metabolism. So when you talk about healing, well, that isn't a word we typically get to use, but let's just say instead, let's name it a little something different. You are on a journey of metabolism homeostasis. Does everybody know what homeostasis is? It's a point of balance, right? So I think of homeostasis. How many of you have been to like Shields or wherever you guys shop for your sporting goods, and they have these like discs, and there's like a ball on the bottom, and it's an agility plate, and you stand on it and you have to balance, right? So metabolism is a constant, or homeostasis is a constant effort of the body to balance. It's constantly working with what it has. So you're on a journey of living in a greater state of homeostasis consistently. Now, again, we might have a birthday cake moment. We might tilt the thing just a little bit, but if you're in a really good space, you're going to be able to tilt yourself back up. You're going to be able to catch your balance more rapidly, right? So number one, let's mitigate expectations, not because we should drop them, but let's re-aim them and say, I'm on a metabolism journey. My weight is a reflection of my metabolism. And as I progress towards homeostasis with my metabolism, I'm probably going to experience some really awesome results. But I also might run into myself, because on the journey to homeostasis, you might run into some chapters that you're not prepared for. So when we hear kind of a third of the voices out there saying, well, I'm tired and I'm getting heavier and my appetite is going up, well, congratulations, you've met yourself on your journey to homeostasis. Do you remember step 3? I suggest you customize. Wherever you're running into yourself, it's possible you didn't show up prepared. How's your micronutrient population? How's your gut? How many carbohydrates do you consume? How prepared did you show up for MetaPower to change your life? And there might be some areas where you could bring a greater state of excellence. So again, if you want to achieve metabolic metabolism homeostasis, it's going to require you participate. This is not a lazy product line where like we just toss all caution to the wind. Movement doesn't matter. Sleep doesn't matter. Stress doesn't matter. Eating doesn't matter. Bogus. Okay. I ran into myself in my first 30 days. I ran into like my food relationship. I ran into habits. And so I picked 3 double downs, and I'm not perfect at them, but they have been my thing. 1 to 2 hours of exercise every day, a minimum of 5 days a week. Number 2, get more sleep, Laura. I love to get stuff done. I'm an achiever. I'm like a night owl. Like I like to finish my day. Yesterday, I'm like, I checked off every box. It was a good day, right? But that might mean I'm like on my computer late, and that is such a disruptor of my sleep. And so that's still an area that I'm working on. But what I've noticed is when I don't get enough sleep, it really impacts my appetite. So, I'm like, all right, Laura, achieve, stay up late, look at your computer, appetite, weight, snacking. What do you want, girl? I got to decide. What do I value most? And I was even having a chat with myself about this today. Like, what do you want most? How late do you want to be on your computer today? How much of an appetite adjustment do you want to have tomorrow because you didn't get enough sleep? So that's my second double down. My third one made a huge epic difference for me. And it's how I really caught my footing with the weight: intermittent fasting. I love, love, love intermittent fasting. Again, I'm a menopausal woman. Men and menopausal women are super good candidates for intermittent fasting. Perhaps not everyone is. I don't want to get into weeds on that whole conversation, but for me, it was a win. Becca Nixon. Yeah. I watched the 30 pounds come off of her and I thought, how'd she do it? She went to a 5-hour eating window. So I stick between 5 and 6 hours in my eating window. So when I stick to that, and then I'm really mindful of what I'm eating, I can actually lose weight. If I'm like, I'll have what carbs I want inside the eating window, I won't gain weight because of the assist, right? So again, you're on a journey to homeostasis. This program is here to meet you there. And what you experience will be very unique and very individualized because it will depend on where you are, what layers you've stacked in your life. It took how many years to get where you are. And you're going to be peeling those layers off, and they're going to come up for you. And they're going to come up at different stages, and you're going to meet new projects, which is why you have to keep asking yourself the questions I asked you before. What are your top priorities, and what products do we have to help meet yourself there? Because you need informed self-care as part of your program. You need detoxification as part of your program. Detoxification is probably one of the biggest gaps for most people on this program. So let some energy get going, do like the lifelong vitality, get the energy going, and then take yourself into a detox. Like I'm on GX Assist and DDR right now because I saw a need for that rise as I put the products into my body. Kind of a deeper conversation, but that's my long and short and deep answer to the question. I think it's such an important question to ask. If you ask me nothing else, it would be my favorite.
Well, then I'm glad that I asked it. Okay, one last question, just because you just touched on GX and DDR. You had specifically mentioned, I literally take it every single day. Terrazyme, I take it with every single meal, just your blank, and also PB Assist. So these are ones that are a staple in our home. But what would you recommend for somebody to start off with, or that's taking maybe one a day? Do you think that that's enough? Do you think that they need to be taking it more often? What would you recommend for the majority of people for Terrazyme and PB Assist?
Okay. So you recognize, and Nicole was clear about this as well, and Al, everyone's clear about this. It's very hard to coach a massive amount of people on consumption. because we're all in such different places. So it's hard to give a blanket answer. Alex's answer was, we gave you the lowest common denominator when we recommended the consumption on these products. And so what I want you to measure is like, where are you and what are your personal needs? So we're going to need to use like some common sense, like how much do I take of these things? So I don't know if you're aware of this, but I actually developed the Cleanse and Restore cleansing program. It came out as Healthy from the Inside Out way back at the Arizona leadership years ago. I designed the entire detox program with Rob Young for doTERRA. That's something I've been involved in for years. So the full-on Cleanse and Restore program, and there is a chart out there. And the last time we redesigned the Live Guide, I made sure they put a QR code in there for your usage model. So let me say that again another way. Live Guide, cleanse page, the girl's got a glass of water, staying at her kitchen counter, list of the whole detox program products, QR code takes you to a usage model that teaches you how to use our products in a detoxification model. So to your question, well, are we in a detox model or are we in an everyday model? Okay. Now, a lot of people would say, oh, I don't know if you should take GX Assist every day of your life because it's kind of strong and it might be too much. Sure. Maybe for some people, I'm not scared of GX Assist. So do I take it every day? No, but I'll go in sprints. And right now I'm taking 2 a day. Some people might need 3. Some people may only be able to handle 1. So it's tough for me to say how much you should take, but hey, what do you have to measure? How am I feeling? So I have a certain situation that has arisen due to the consumption of our products. I have some itching that's accelerated, and that's the niacin that's triggering. I know, who was it? One of your gals said, I don't know how to say NMN. It's nicotinamide mononucleotide is what NMN is. And do you know it's the derivative of niacin? Well, if you know anything about niacin, holy freaking cow, like talk about doing some wondrous things in your body. And so as we're speeding up circulation, we're also speeding up elimination. And so that means I'm detoxing through my skin in just one little region of my body. It actually happens right under my bra, just so your mind doesn't have to wonder about, oh my gosh, where's Laura's itching? It's right here, just so y'all know. Okay. And it's where I get sweaty, right? I exercise 1 to 2 hours a day. And for winter, it's just right there. And oh my gosh, the itching's like crazy. But what did Brannick teach us? Okay. You're pushing your carbs out of your tummy into your gut. And he said, if you're getting gaseous or you're having other things flare, it's because you already have a candida population there because you already ate too many carbohydrates in the first place. And he says, you're due for a detox. So throw some GX Assist in there. GX Assist is targeting the unwanted population in your gut. And the reason why we have that and DDR in the detox is because DDR is targeting the same unwanted population in your system. We call it systemic. Did you know you can have a systemic unwanted population? In other words, unwanted guests might exist in your body outside of your gut. So that's why I take both, because I'm targeting my gut with GX Assist and I'm targeting my system, because where's my itching? I'm not itching in my colon, right? That's kind of an unpleasant thought, but I'm not like, I can't itch my small intestines. I wouldn't know if they were itching. They don't even have any like nerves in there, but I can feel I'm itching on the outside, which is the first clue to me. I'm excreting through my skin toxins that are running out a sympathetic chimney. That's not a normal place to be excreting from. And so alert, alarm's going off. And I know it's a cascading effect from taking the product. And I'm actually thrilled to have the awareness, and my body's telling me, you need to put some attention here. So how much to take? Oh my goodness, 1 to 2 Terrazymes, 2 to 3 times a day, 1 to 3 GX Assist. Some people are really diehards and take 4. Right? You know how I know when I'm taking too much GX Assist at the same time? I get like a radical stomach cramp, and it's from the caprylic acid. Like, it's not a surprise. It's not terrible. It just means you got a lot of caprylic acid in you, but that's like the really kick butt part of that product, along with the oils that are in there. That's what makes it so great. It just means I can't handle that much at once. The first time I learned that is when I took 3 at once, and I learned that was probably not the best idea. So I'm usually good at 1, and I take it multiple times a day. So DDR, anywhere from 1 to 4 a day. GX Assist, 1 to 3 is typical. PB Assist, 1 to 3. Terrazyme, 3 to 6 a day. I take Terrazyme every morning when I get up with my first wad of pills and my Advantage on an empty stomach. And I always take it when I go to bed to sweep out the day. And then I take it in the middle. I eat a very live diet. I don't eat dead food, and dead food needs lots of enzyme help. So I don't have a lot of dead food. I have a lot of live food. So I don't need a lot of enzyme help with my meals, but I use the enzymes to help me with detoxification when my stomach is empty, to help flush out undigested proteins and things like that may have been acquired due to my diet or other things, or inability for my body to break stuff down. So I know not a super easy answer, but I hope that my goal is that you'll leave here thinking for yourself, not with some rule you have to follow, but that you now have the smarts that it's your character to decide how to do your thing. You can build your own personal protocol because I've given you some ways to think about it. Not that I give you some diehard fast rule that you have to keep, because it's just not like that. One rule for you might be good for your first 2 months, and then you need to change it. Like I was a super user. I took 2 packets of Advantage every day for my first 30 days and my second 30 days. About a week into my third 30 days, I just heard my body say, you don't need 2 packets anymore. I was like, great, thanks for telling me. And I no longer take 2. And every once in a while, I'm like, are you sure we don't need 2? And my body's like, nope, we don't. I think I've had my body tell me one day I needed 2, but I felt great about it for the first 2 months. I don't need 2 a day anymore. That's just not what I'm calling for.
Okay, so really quick, the last question, then we're going to jump under the wheel for the free prizes. Speaking of being a super user and taking 2 packets a day, I've heard Ellie Wright say that when she was taking 2 packets a day, she took them at the same time in the morning. I personally was taking a morning and night. Do you know if one is better, one is, preferred over the other? When you were a super user, did you take them at the same time or did you separate them?
I separated them. I never took 2 at once, not once. And there were 2 days where I actually took 3. So I thought it was great that Nicole addressed that some people feel tired when they take it. So, hey, take it at night. Some people feel super energized. So, hey, take it in the morning or maybe not at night. So I think that's one helpful thing is how do you feel after you take it? And that how would that then guide you in your usage model? I would probably, I know Dr. O sort of furrowed his brow at me like, girl, we get 20% increase in NAD levels in people who take 1 a day. Why do you need 2? I'm like, because I want to take 2. Like we kind of agreed to disagree because he thinks 1 a day is fine. I'm sort of in the utilization model. How much can my body use at once? And so I would rather spread it out than flooded my system with so much that my body doesn't have the wherewithal to put all that to work. But hey, if Emily felt drawn to doing 2 at once, well, again, what calls to you? Really work on being intuitive and listening to your body. It will guide you. I've spent decades of my life listening to other people's bodies and reflecting that back to them and listening to my own. And so often we just don't ask, therefore we don't get the answers. So I would say 1, how do you feel after you take it? When I hit 3, I got a headache. And I was like, interesting. So I reached out to my buddy Alex and Dr. O, and I was absolutely assured that much NMN in my system probably was too much and overwhelmed my system and I couldn't handle it. And that's actually not an uncommon symptom from an accelerated use of NMN, especially in an earlier use model. I think I could take 3 a day now and not get a headache because I tried it again and I didn't get a headache. And I just really want to encourage you to run with your progress. Meet yourself where you are, understand the needs in the moment. And as you peel off those layers, it's Herring's law of the cure, that things are going to go in the reverse order and top down as you move into that state of homeostasis. And the only thing you have to ask yourself is, am I prepared to meet my body on this journey? And that's why you must customize. You must do levels 1 and 2. Can't skip those. Micro, macro, got to have it. Got to have the gut health, but please customize. Please listen to your body. When is it calling for cleansing? When is it calling for support? When does it need help sleeping? When does it need help with an unwanted guest population? We have the tools for this. Do you realize how much purpose that system of thinking gives to all of our other products, right? So if you want to work on brain aging, have you met Spanish sage? Hello, coolest oil ever. And if you tried applying guaiac wood externally with it, and combined it with your frankincense and your copaiba, wow. I could go on forever, but I'll quit talking. Anything else? I know you need to give some gifts away. You need to end your night, and I have an event to go to. So if you'll excuse me, I'll just stop chatting and part ways. Does that sound good?
This has been so good. Before you leave, Laura, I just gave everybody the ability that wants to. I'm going to switch back to my gallery view so I can see all of you. we are so incredibly grateful for the time you took here. Oh my gosh, I love that last thing that you said, run with your progress, and am I prepared to meet my body on this journey? So could everybody here, if you want to just unmute and say thank you to our dear friend Laura Jacobs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you,
Laura.
Laura.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Wonderful.
Great.